Hey, what's up, guys? This is George. If you guys want to see the first part of this interview, go check it out on my channel, Money Talks. And for this second part, I want to interview Jeff. I want to see if he can give us some game and teach us a little bit more about phone flipping. So yeah, before we get started, I would like to see how Jeff is doing over there. So yeah, Jeff, how's everything going?
Very busy, moving a lot of phones from Miami to South America, Venezuela, Colombia. Just picked up another project that I'm working on with Starlink, distributing a lot of Starlink minis. So if you guys are interested in buying in bulk from me, I'm also distributing Starlink minis. Contact me and I'll go ahead and get you connected with that as well. But other than that, can't complain even though I'm exhausted. Thankfully, I'm making some money in the process.
That sounds great, man. So lately you've been doing other businesses besides the phone flipping. You're also into Starlink now, and what else?
Just Starlink now, that's the new project that I'm working on. I'm always going to do phones wholesale, but also you should always open up other avenues of income, right? It's always good to have multiple sources. So Starlink is the new baby that I'm working on.
That sounds really good, man. So it'll be great if you can give us some sauce in the future. But right now, I have a few questions that I want to ask you. So first of all, I think a lot of people would like to know, when you first got into phone flipping, like what was the first time you bought some phones? Like how did it go by? Like did you buy a few phones? Did you buy a lot of phones or?
So the very first phone I ever bought, it was a funny experience. I didn't have a car, so I had to beg my grandmother to let me use her minivan to get over to the customer. When I finally get there, everything I learned, I completely forgot. I was like, how to inspect the phone, how to check the IMEI. There's a million things that I knew that went right out of my head. And I called my friend who happened to be a manager at AT&T, and I was bugging her. I was like, hey, look, I'm with the customer. I'm about to buy the phone for the first time. Based off your experience, what should I look out for? And remember she guided me through the process. I gave the customer $50, ended up selling the phone for $120, making $70 profit. But it goes to show that this business is like instant money. The moment you buy something, you're gonna 100% make profit if you buy accordingly, At the time I was doing like eBay appraisals where I was seeing what people were selling them on average, and I was like, shit, I can sell it. Well, I can sell it for roughly like 120, 130, let me get it for 50. So I already knew what I was gonna get into. After I bought that phone, I knew that's it. I could take off from here. If I'm able to do this and be successful this one time, I could keep repeating the process, duplicating the process over and over and over again, and eventually get somewhere. So that was my first deal.
So you were immediately hooked, immediately, or did you take some time to, get into it again, or?
Like they say, hooked on phonics. That's how it was. I was like instant, just boom. This is me. This is me right here. I was
so
never.
Right after that, you started
because the second deal was even sweeter. I wouldn't advise going to someone's house, but I was so excited. I was so anxious to pick up this deal. It was an Apple Watch It was an Apple Watch 38 millimeter. I paid $70 for it, and then I'm selling it for $180, right? So making $110 profit. My second deal off the second device. So the thing was, I had to once again get in the minivan, the Dodge Caravan, and drive from Fort Lauderdale. This time it was to North Miami. We're in the hood now, and I go to this guy's house, which is a terrible idea, but I'm just eager to get this Apple Watch. And we're there, and it's taking forever to unpair. Then it's taking forever to pair back to my phone, and I'm just like, damn, I'm trying to get the hell out of here. But I remember as soon as I gave him the $70 and I got in the car, I remember blasting the volume of mute in the car all the way up, and just being happy as hell. Like, man, I hit the jackpot. Because I knew I was going to be able to sell it for around $200 and getting $180. But either way, I was happy. I was able to make something. And that's the best feeling in the world. When you set out to do something and you accomplish it, there's no better feeling. My goal was to get that watch, to make some money. And the fact that I made 110, that was great. It's a 30-minute drive, an hour. I spent an hour of my time to make 110. So I was happy. And the rest is history.
So, wow, that's pretty cool, man. So how did you acquire these deals? Were you running Facebook ads or some other method?
Yeah, from day one, I always ran Facebook paid ads. When I was watching YouTube videos before I quit my construction job in Orlando, I was watching YouTube videos on phone flipping, and I would try OfferUp and mostly OfferUp. But I always knew people would get rude and they'd get angry at me for offering them a price to where I could try to make a profit. And they'd always tell me no, and I didn't have a car, so I just got discouraged from it. When I was running Facebook ads, so I learned how to run Facebook ads. So when I started running Facebook ads, immediately I noticed that people would think I'm a business. And I would tell them to come to the 7-Eleven by where I was living, and they would get them. They'd be like, "Where's the phone store? Is it in the 7-Eleven?" I'm like, "No, it's just a public location where we're meeting." So it'd be funny because you'd have ghetto people pull up and be like, "Yo, where you at? You're at a gas station?" No, we're meeting up right here. And they're like, "Yo, I thought you were a store. What the hell?" And they start laughing. "You need a store." Telling me I need a store, that was funny. But that's how it was. Hilarious. So yeah, running
That's
Facebook
amazing.
paid ads was the number one way for me to go about it. At the time, this was years ago, I was the only one running them in the city, so everyone was coming to me. I mean, it was beautiful. It was beautiful.
Wow, so right away you started making like
Yeah, Facebook paid ads
making money from
was,
the
was
start.
what helped me make money right away with it. I'm sure OfferUp and Facebook Marketplace worked, but it didn't work for me. I needed something that was quick. I needed people who had that sense of urgency to get rid of their phone for some cash. In the beginning, I was doing well. I was getting overwhelmed. I remember one day looking at my phone and getting a bunch of messages, 15 messages, and I remember now 15 messages is nothing. 15 messages in the inbox is nothing. That's a little bit of leads. But at the time, I was never used to 15 leads, so I felt like I was texting 1,000 people when it was really only 15 people. But hey, Facebook paid ads was always number one way for me to grow, in my opinion, for my personal business. It worked for me.
From the start, like did you already have like a buyer for all these phones or did you
No. I was doing it the way most people were doing it. I hopped on eBay, got my funds held for like 27 days after the first deal that I sold. And then the second phone I sold on eBay, it was a carrier locked phone. I marked it as baddie, said in the description to let people know that it was not an unlocked phone that worked for any carrier. They ended up buying it anyways, and it didn't work for the carrier, so they returned the phone. Then I had to list it, and then waste a bunch of time. So I was with eBay for a very short period of time. eBay and Mercari, like I think like 2 or 3 months, and then I met some guy in Miami that was buying phones, and I was started selling to him, and then from there I was introduced to wholesale buyers, and then that's where I started selling to the company that of that I told you about, for the next few years, and then I started finding overseas buyers and selling to them, and then now this is where I'm at now, where I'm able to sell internationally, right? Buy phones from wholesalers or a bunch of people that been my customers from the U.S. Miami area, and then ship them out overseas to other countries that don't have license agreement with Apple, so they can't place an order and have the Apple factory send them a shipping container filled with phones. That will never happen. So they rely on people like me. So now we're over here selling overseas. So that's how it went. eBay, wholesale buyers, and then now the higher level to overseas buyers.
so like from the start, how much were you making approx like per month, when you first got into this?
I would make nothing, maybe a few hundred. The next week I would make 1,500, 1,700. So it varied. But I remember the first year I made 55,000. I was proud. I was like, "Whoa, I made 55,000." Because I remember, I'm gonna say a quick little story. I remember my cousin Freddie. He worked at Delta, right? And I remember my grandfather saying, this was years ago. I must have been like 10 years old. I remember him saying, Freddie works with Delta. He has good benefits. He makes $40,000 a year. And I remember always growing up thinking 40,000. I gotta make 40,000. I gotta make 40,000 like Freddie. And then fast forward, and I made 55. I'm like, whoa! I passed that standard that I had set myself out when I was little. I only wanted to be able to make 40K. Well, whatever. The point is, that's where I was at after the first year.
So after that, like did you start like selling also other devices or only phones? Like did you ever get into computers, into like iPads and all that?
Yeah, I was, like I mentioned earlier, I always diversified. I was doing Apple Watches, iPads, MacBooks, and Samsung phones too. And then with the MacBooks, I actually got very confident. I was doing crazy deals with a Cuban wholesaler in Miami. I was buying probably like 10 or 15 MacBooks a day with him with my business partner. It wasn't all my money. We would go 50-50 and everything. That's why it was possible. And then that's where it leads up to me getting scammed after the first year, because I was already comfortable buying a bunch of MacBooks. And then one of my good friends said, "Hey, look, one of my homies from New York, he knows a guy from South Africa that can get a bunch of MacBooks in a shipping container at a very discounted price." And at that point, it sounded fishy, but I didn't really care. I was just, money hungry. I wanted to get this deal because apparently I ran the numbers. If everything worked out fine, I'd be making $25,000 a month just to go up to New York one time each month, pick up this huge batch, and then come back down and sell them to my buyers. where I was making $500-$600 profit, you know, each like $500 profit on average each MacBook. And long story short, I'm getting scammed $15,000 in New York, and then left with $500 to come back to Miami.
Yeah, that story's on the other video. You guys want to see the whole story of what happened there and how Jeff managed to get out of that?
Check out that other video, the part 1, where I break down the whole entire journey. It was a headache sleeping in the car, not bathing for 3 days, you know, traveling from Ohio back down to Miami trying to make some money when we were only left for $400 or $500.
So now, how are you doing this business? Like, what's the difference between, you know, you in the past and you now? Like, how are you, like, you know, buying phones? Like, do you have like suppliers? Do you do the auctions? Can you tell us a little bit about, you know, that situation?
Yeah, so in the beginning it was less automated, right? It was me running Facebook paid ads, closing the leads, closing the deals, then arranging a time and place to meet up with that customer, going over there, inspecting the phone physically, giving the customer cash, then going to the post office, shipping it out to the buyer, then getting paid. So it was a process. It wasn't as automated. Whereas now I have it automated. Now I have 2 wholesale companies that I buy from in bulk, right? I buy a lot of grade C and B phones. And then when I buy these phones in bulk, I then either have my business partner pick them up and take them to a logistics company to then ship out to the overseas buyers, or I'll have the same logistics company help me out with moving the phones to their facility and then shipping out to whatever buyer I'm selling to. I have a buyer this week in Venezuela. I have a buyer next week in Brazil, Peru, Paraguay, Colombia, you name it, right? So that's a good thing. The fact that I'm able to have that help, where I have runners and my business partner be able to help me with the influx of phones, picking up the phones physically and then taking them somewhere to get shipped off. And even if you didn't have a big team, like I said, logistics companies will always make that possible for you. The companies that I provide in my training, you know, it's not hard to get the wholesalers to ship the phones to whoever they need to go to in order for you to sell them. That's easy, you know, and that's what I teach in the program as far as wholesaling and automating your business, just like me, where I'm able to order online, place the orders, have someone pick up, and then ship out.
So the way the you know, the wholesaling like business works, you now, like, you know, online you buy these you know, phones, and then you already have someone who can buy everything.
Yeah, so whenever my business partner can't go in there physically, we do online orders. You could do both. You could go there in person, or you could do it online. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the auction called Copar. It's an automobile auction where they sell cars wholesale. And just like that auction, you gotta go online, look at the car you want, bid on it, and boom. But the auctions that I provide for you, not really auctions, they're wholesale companies. I just say it so we don't get confused. These wholesale companies, there is no bidding, there is no minimum. They don't force you to buy 100 or 20. You could buy 1 or 2 or 3 or 5 or 1,000. It's up to you and how much you want to buy.
Comparing, you know, like normal traditional buying and selling phones from like local people to this new method that you are now like doing. So like the profit margins are different. Are they similar, or is it more about the volume? How does that?
It's different. It's more about the volume. You know, when you're doing regular phone flipping, on average, you're making $100 profit per phone that you pick up from the street and you sell to the regular wholesale buyers, right? Sometimes it could be 150, it could be 200, depending on the deal. Each phone is different. Each scenario is different, right? Each phone has a different personality and different ways to make more or less profit, but on average, 100. Whereas when you're doing wholesale to the overseas buyers, you're making anywhere from $40 to $70 a phone. $40 to $70 a phone, you know, but you're doing multiple pieces. Now, there's other ways to make more money. If you have a polish machine and you polish the phone from grade B to grade A, and now you're making way more. So there's different ways to be able to milk the count and make more profits from every angle, and I covered that in the program. You know, the polish machine, if you're gonna go wholesale, is the best way to go. You know, I have phones that we get that are grade C, you polish it, you turn it to grade A. Boom, your profit margins just jump significantly. Way more than making 50 or 60. We're talking 100 now. It depends where it's going. And then I can go and tell you some other sauce to it. This crazy game plan when you have the polish machines, you could pretty much sell a used phone at a new price after you refurbish it. And that's why these machines exist. If you're interested in learning about the machines, just go ahead and hit me up, link down below, and I'll give you access to the machines that we use.
So what do you recommend, Jeff? Like, do you think people should, do both? Like, the regular phone flipping and the wholesaling, or just focus on one or the other?
Well, it depends what your goal is, what you ultimately want to achieve, and also your level of experience. Normally, if someone's brand new, has zero experience, I wouldn't sell them the more advanced course, the auction wholesale course, right? Because they're two separate courses. I would tell you, hey, focusing on building a foundation, learning the theory of the business, how this all functions, and then once you've made money with my first course, you've seen the success, and you're ready to level up and scale, then jump into the wholesale business, but the wholesale course. But if you already have experience, yeah, I would jump and start doing wholesale immediately, because the two wholesale companies that I give you, when you buy from them, you're going to be able to sell them to a list of overseas buyers that have stations in the US, right? These guys pay way more. So imagine this. You have access to buy in bulk, and whatever you buy in bulk, you have access to buyers who are going to buy whatever you bought immediately. So it's like, hey, I bought 30, 40, 50 phones from the auction today, and now I'm going to sell them all to my buyer right away. I'm not going to sit there and sell them one by one. So that's the advantage of it. So I tell you guys, look, it's not everything's a money grab. If you don't have the experience, join the first course. It's cheaper, so they bring you money. You're going to have success. You're going to have good buyers. You're going to have mentorship from me. But then be real with yourself. Once you have that real experience, hey, go ahead and join the second course, because that's going to benefit you. But everything in due time. Don't try to take on the whole world at once, because you're going to blow yourself out.
So Jeff, approximately how much money does it require to get started with, phone flipping and wholesale phone flipping? Like, what's the difference in prices, and how much money capital you need to start, get the ball rolling?
The good thing for both, you don't need a whole lot of capital. You work based off what you have. So if you're doing regular phone flipping where you're running ads on Instagram and Facebook or Google, well, you focus on the phones that you can buy. So for example, if I know I have only $300, when I'm running these ads, I'm going to target the certain phones that fall into that category, into my budget, better said. That way I'm able to make more use of my money. If I have $300, I'm better off buying 3 phones at $100 each to make $100 profit, right? I'm gonna turn that 300 into 600, right? Why would I go buy one phone for 300 just to make 100 in the before? You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense to you, George? So
Makes sense.
So you don't need a whole lot of money when it comes to regular phone flipping. And the same thing with wholesale. One of the wholesale companies, there is no minimum. You could buy 1 phone, 2 phones, 3 phones, 4 phones, 5 phones if you wanted to. Obviously, the more you buy, the better. The more flexible, you get better rates. But if you wanted to buy 3 phones, it's up to you. Now the other wholesaler that I have, is, remember, I give you 2 wholesale companies. They do require that you buy at least 15 pieces or more. That's just a requirement. So they're both great, but every company has different rules. So if you guys just wanted to buy 3 or 4, then you go with the first company that I give you. And then for those of you who are buying 15, 20, you could use both of them, because both of them will sell you that type of volume.
So in this situation, you told me that for the wholesaling, usually the margins are, way more reduced, because obviously you're not having to work hard to get the phone. You already have someone who's going to sell it to you. So do you think it'll be better for people who are just starting in this business of, phone flipping, maybe to get started with traditional phone flipping instead of, trying to do the wholesaling?
Most definitely, yeah. Like I always tell people, there's times where people want to buy the auction course that I have with the 2 wholesale companies and the 700 buyers. And I asked them, do you have experience? No, well, I can't sell it to you because, if you have no experience, where do you even begin to understand any of this? So then, yeah, you need to go back to the first program where I'm able to teach you everything to where you can build that foundation, know what you're talking about, know the terminology. That way you're not looking like an idiot when you're talking to real wholesalers and overseas buyers. You don't want to get taken advantage of by people. You gotta know what you're doing in life.
So there you have it, guys. That's a lot of good information, and Jeff will reveal more of this on his courses. Hey Jeff, have you ever gotten into phone repair and that business? Do you recommend it? Do you not recommend it?
100%. If you're just starting off, I highly recommend this. Another way to boost your profit margins. Always, anytime you repair, you're gonna make more money when you repair. Whether you're repairing for a customer or you're repairing to flip a phone. in the beginning, I was repairing phones. I would do it, for my car. I would have a magnet. So when I took all the screws and pieces apart, put in the magnet, and do it in like 15, 20 minutes. Whether I was repairing someone's phone or doing it, a repair for a phone was going to flip for more money.
Yeah, did you make a little bit extra? Did you make a substantial amount of money doing that?
It's a good amount of extra depending on how your price is, how much you charge for repairs. I started off low in the beginning, cheap, and then I started raising my prices. And then whenever I was buying cracked phones on the street locally, I would be aggressive. I would tell the customer one price because I knew that they're leaving some details out. So when I would get the phone, it was more messed up than it was. Then I was able to bring the price more, like a lot more, then fix it and then sell it for a way higher price. So there's so many ways to make phone flip money within the phone industry, whether it's repairs, whether it's flipping, whether it's unlocking. I mean, it's endless on how many ways you could really milk this cow that's phone reselling.
Okay, man, that sounds like really good advice. And also, like, I'm just curious, dude, how did you like get started on YouTube? Like, did you just, wanted to start making videos about your business, or what got you into this?
I was held hostage and I was forced to make content. No, actually, what happened was funny story. A buddy of mine who does core sales and does YouTube. We were at the airport on our way on a trip to South America together, and I was doing a deal, and he heard me close a deal. He's like, bro, you know a lot about phone flipping. You make good money with your phone business. Why don't you make content on YouTube and make a program and teach people, because it's actually good material. You're actually not scamming people out of their money like these other BS course sellers that sell something that they don't even practice or do themselves. You should actually jump into that since you're the real deal and you actually do the business. And I was like, nah, I don't know. This is not me. And I tried it. Then I stopped for a few months. And I tried it. Then I stopped. And he was always there kind of pushing me to do it. Because at the end of the day, you know how uncomfortable it is to put a camera and then look at yourself? Because I didn't put the camera the other way around where I couldn't see myself. No, I put it to the way where I'm seeing my little lips move. And, watching yourself talk is always weird, especially for myself. So I was very like, yeah, this ain't me. But, I kept doing it and we're here.
So do you think YouTube has helped your business? Like, has it made it better?
Oh yeah, definitely. Let's be real. By making the course, a lot of you guys ended up selling phones to me, right? Some of you guys, when you're in the course, I could match the other buyers' prices sometimes. If you're in the regular phone flipping course, not the overseas buyer course, I could sometimes match the prices. And the good thing too is, I normally don't tell people this. Every time one of my students sells a phone to the wholesale buyers, I make 3% of whatever, he makes from that deal. So there's an incentive for me to teach this, because if I create an army of people, imagine in the next few years I have 10,000 people phone flipping and I get 3% of every phone they sell to the buyer. So yes, there's an incentive behind it, to be locked in, to be tied within this community, to work with a bunch of people, to where in the next 10 years everyone knows me as, yeah, that's Jeff. That's one of the big shots, one of the top guys in the industry. Okay, that's pretty interesting. Like how you, first got into phone flipping, because you didn't want to have regular jobs, and you really got into it with the wholesaling, and now you're doing on YouTube, and people are getting to know you. So yeah, thanks a lot for giving us all this advice, and hopefully we can learn more about you in the future, man. Yeah, no problem. If you guys have more questions, if you're curious to know more about phone flipping, you can book a free call with me. You don't gotta buy the course. I'm not gonna try to sell you anything. I'm just gonna answer any questions you have. So guys, take notes down, and when you call me, get ready. I'll answer any questions you have. That way you can know if this is for you or not for you. Let's be real. Phone flipping is a guaranteed easy way to make money, but it's not for everyone. Not everyone's gonna have the same liking to certain things. So we gotta be realistic.
All right, Jeff, thank you a lot for having me be a part of this video, and hopefully we can do another video in the future. And if you guys want to see the whole interview, go to the other channel. I'm going to leave it over there.
All right, thank you. Catch you in the next video, guys. Peace.